In the heart of the Canadian wilderness, where the snow blankets the earth in a suffocating silence, a tale as ancient as the land itself begins to stir with the coming of the deep winter. The world is a vast, unending expanse of white, where the trees stand like solemn sentinels guarding secrets long forgotten, and the air carries a chill so biting it seeps into the very marrow of one's bones. It is here, in this secluded realm of ice and shadow, that a group of friends, bound by their thirst for adventure and the unbreakable ties of camaraderie, venture into the heart of the unknown. Guided by the flickering light of their lanterns and the sheer will to explore the untouched, they find themselves drawn deeper into the embrace of the wilderness, unaware of the ancient presence that lurks within. The Wendigo, a creature born of gluttony and excess, a being that embodies the insatiable hunger of the wild, watches from the darkness, its eyes burning with an unquenchable fire. As the friends gather around the campfire, their laughter and tales of old echoing through the silent forest, they remain blissfully ignorant of the eyes that watch them, of the hunger that grows ever stronger with their every breath. The Wendigo, a specter of the forest, a manifestation of the darkest desires that lie within the heart of man, begins to stir, its appetite whetted by the presence of the interlopers. Algernon Blackwood, with his masterful touch for atmospheric, psychological horror, would have woven a tale where the very essence of fear is not in the creature itself, but in what it represents. The Wendigo is not merely a monster to be feared for its fangs and claws, but a mirror held up to humanity, reflecting the gluttony, the excess, the insatiable greed that festers within. As the group confronts this embodiment of their darkest fears, they must face not only the physical terror that hunts them through the snow-laden forests, but also the psychological torment of their own inner demons. In the dead of winter, under the cold gaze of the moon, a story of survival and horror unfolds, a tale that delves into the very soul of man and the ancient horrors that dwell in the untouched corners of the world. The Wendigo's hunger knows no bounds, and as the friends soon discover, in the heart of the wilderness, they are not the hunters, but the hunted. As the night deepens, the wind's howl grows more ferocious, carrying with it whispers that seem almost human, a chorus of hunger, of insatiable longing. The fire, once a beacon of warmth and safety, flickers violently, casting erratic shadows that twist and turn in a macabre dance. The friends, huddled closer, sense the shift, a palpable change in the air, a tightening in their chests that speaks of primal fear. One by one, they notice their surroundings morphing, the once familiar forest becoming a labyrinth of shadows and threats. The moon, hidden now behind thick clouds, plunges the world into an almost tangible darkness. It is in this darkness that they first hear it, the crunch of snow underfoot, deliberate and measured, circling their campsite like a predator stalking its prey. Panic sets in as they realize they are not alone. Eyes peer from the darkness, reflective and hungry, attached to a form too grotesque to be fully human. The Wendigo, in its horrific glory, emerges from the shadows, a towering figure of twisted limbs and antlered head, its skin stretched tight over protruding bones, a ghastly visage of gluttony and excess. Its mouth, agape, reveals rows of sharp, jagged teeth, gleaming in the dim light of their dying fire. The creature moves with unnatural speed, descending upon the group with a hunger born of centuries, a hunger that cannot be satiated by mere flesh alone. The first scream shatters the night, a sound so full of terror it seems to freeze the very air. In a frenzy of fear and desperation, the friends scatter, their bonds of camaraderie forgotten in the face of death. But the Wendigo is relentless, its form a blur of motion as it claims its first victim, a young man who stumbles and falls, his screams cut short by a gush of crimson that paints the snow in stark, horrifying contrast. The others, driven by terror, run blindly into the forest, their breaths coming in ragged gasps, hearts pounding against their ribs. The forest becomes a maze of horror, each tree a potential harbinger of death, every shadow a hiding place for their relentless pursuer. The friends, once united by adventure, are now torn apart by fear, picked off one by one in a gruesome spectacle that marries the beauty of the wilderness with the brutality of nature's darkest creature. As the night wears on, the once vibrant group is reduced to a single, trembling survivor, hiding beneath the bough of a snow-laden tree, her breath shallow, her body racked with sobs. Around her, the forest is silent once more, the snow pristine except for the crimson stains that tell a tale of terror, of a night when the Wendigo's hunger was unleashed upon the unsuspecting. In the heart of the Canadian wilderness, under the watchful gaze of a moon obscured by clouds of despair, a new legend is born, a tale of horror, of the Wendigo's insatiable hunger, a reminder of the fragility of life and the dark appetites that lurk in the shadows of the world. As dawn breaks, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, the forest stands eerily silent, a stark contrast to the night's horrors. The snow, once pure and untouched, is marred by the chaos of the night, telling a tale of fear, survival, and the primal terror that stalks the wilderness. The sole survivor, her body trembling from cold and shock, emerges from her hiding, the first rays of sunlight casting long shadows that seem almost menacing in their quiet. With every step, she is haunted by the memories of the night, the screams of her friends, the relentless pursuit of the Wendigo, and the heart-wrenching realization of being the lone witness to a nightmare that unfolded in the heart of the Canadian wilderness. The forest, which had once promised adventure and camaraderie, now holds only the echoes of loss and the visceral reminder of the Wendigo's insatiable hunger. As she makes her way out of the forest, the weight of survival heavy on her shoulders, she knows that the world beyond these trees will never understand the depth of what has occurred. The Wendigo, a creature of myth and legend, has left its mark on the very fabric of her being, a scar that will never fully heal. The authorities will search, of course. They will find traces of the night's terror, but no sign of the creature itself. Skeptics will call it a tragedy brought on by the harshness of nature and the folly of youth, but she knows the truth. The Wendigo is real, a manifestation of the darkest aspects of human nature and the wilderness that surrounds them. In the aftermath, the story of that fateful night becomes a whispered legend, a cautionary tale of the hunger that lies in the depths of the forest and the human soul. The survivor moves on, her life forever changed, carrying the burden of knowledge that in the remote Canadian wilderness, under the cover of night, the Wendigo still hunts, its hunger eternal, a reminder of the thin veil that separates humanity from the ancient horrors that dwell in the shadows. And so the story ends, not with closure, but with an ominous warning. In the heart of the wilderness, where the boundary between man and myth blurs, the Wendigo's hunger knows no bounds.